Hey, welcome back to the second installment of 25 to Thrive, brought to you by Go-to-Market Works. If this is your first time here, no problem. I'm going to explain a bit about the concept, and if it's your second time here, I will be pretty brief going through it. So the idea is I'm going to be releasing a series of videos that break down a core go-to-market topic into five-minute lessons, with each of those sections looking at one key concept within that overall topic, why that concept's important to you and the business, how to improve it, and then how to measure the success. This is predominantly focused on those founders who have reached initial product market fit, probably around 1 million or so in ARR, and their ambitions are to take themselves to that 10 to 20 or so million in ARR, and that is such a treacherous stretch of your go-to-market, your scale-up journey, particularly for your go-to-market teams. Everything that you thought was working will probably start to break. Your playbooks will need to be defined and updated. Your operating rhythm will definitely need to be upgraded, and your teams will need more support as their experience becomes stretched. And that is what this series is all about, helping plug some of those gaps. I've worked across a number of businesses, all shapes and sizes, VC backed and bootstrapped, from very little revenue pre-product market fit right through to tens of millions in ARR. So these lessons have been broadly learned across many different businesses, many different shapes and sizes, and I've seen the patterns of what does and does not work on that journey of scaling your go-to-market. So today I'm going to focus on win rate. Why win rate? Well, you definitely don't want to be sending qualified leads into a leaky bucket. It's a surefire way to completely kill your efficiency, waste money, increase your cost of acquisition, all sorts of good reasons that if your win rate is not looking healthy, you shouldn't then be putting your foot on the gas in terms of building pipeline, because it's just going to create an inefficient go-to-market model. Now, improving your win rate, of course, has the inverse effect on all that. It really improves your cost of acquisition and your growth efficiency. Suddenly, you can generate more, output more ARR from less. You'll need to spend less on leads. You'll need to spend less on even adding new headcount into the business, less new sales reps needed to hit the same level of ARR if you can start to consistently improve your win rates. It also means that when you're building out your growth plans and you're doing that backwards model where you look at where you wanted to end up at the end of the year, whatever the ARR is, and you look at all your conversion rates right the way back through the funnel, often you end up with this horror-inducing number of leads that you need into the top of the funnel because your conversion metrics are really poor throughout it. Well, one of the first and most effective of those conversion rates you can improve is your win rate. And suddenly the number of leads you need to add into the top of the funnel reduces. It means there's less pressure then on your pipeline building and marketing activities, and everyone can focus more on quality over quantity. And then finally, momentum and morale. So important to any scaling business, right? What you don't want to be doing is trying to get your sales reps to close everything and anything, only for most of their time and effort to be wasted and their close rates look really poor. It's a surefire way to kill momentum and morale. Whereas if you really improve on their win rates, suddenly you're going to get loads more great logos being posted into your Slack channel for wins or whatever other communication channel that you have. And sales teams are going to feel much more energized around working their pipeline, because they're more likely to walk away with a deal and therefore increasing their commissions too. So really, while it is possible to create a growing go-to-market and growing revenue through just pure quantity and throwing loads of stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks and accepting low win rates, it's not a great way to build momentum and morale across the team. So that's why we're going to focus on win rate today. Now, the 5 key concepts that I'm breaking down for you. First is around the importance of targeting. The second is qualification. The third is communication. Fourth is resource management. And fifth is a focus on learning. Let me now dive straight into each of these 5 concepts and why they will help you improve your win rates in your scaling journey from 1 to 10 million. So first off, targeting. Why is targeting so important? Well, you want to be only focused on the highest propensity to buy leads and prospects, right? It's going to save you and your reps a ton of time and energy chasing the wrong leads, the wrong conversations that are never going to buy in the first place, right? It's just an exercise in frustration, and again goes back to causing a lack of morale and inefficiencies in your sales team, right? It's going to save your reps a ton of time and effort if they're speaking to the right targets in the first place. As Bruce Lee said, he fears the man not who's practiced 10,000 kicks 1 times, but much rather the man who's practiced 1 kick 10,000 times. Now, if your targeting is spot on, if you're just focused on selling to the right ICP, to the right persona with the right use cases that are a good fit for your business, then your sales reps become like the person Bruce Lee would fear, because they're doing the same type of conversation, the same type of sales cycle, the same type of buyer over and over again. They're going to become absolutely expert at that. Whereas if they're spending all of their time answering calls, taking meetings with whoever's knocking on their door, they're just desperate for conversations. It doesn't matter whether they're ICP, they might be all sorts of disparate personas, they might have all sorts of different use cases. Well, they're going to win some of them, right? It's just the law of averages. They're going to win some of them, but they're not going to become experts in your sales cycle. In fact, it's going to feel like running a completely different sales cycle and process for every one of those conversations. So don't let them do that. Make sure you're targeting the right people to get into your pipeline. And then finally, of course, your client success team is really going to thank you. If you're bringing in the right deals, the right buyers, handing them over to TS, it's so much more likely they're going to find immediate value from your product. They're going to be sticky customers. They're going to be loyal customers. You're going to reduce churn. You're going to increase your net revenue retention. CS team's going to love you. So again, targeting, such an important principle to start with. Very foundational, not always something that every sales team focuses on enough. So how do you improve your targeting? How do you know you're focused on the right ICP in the right areas? Well, the first is to know them really well, right? So how do you know your ICP and your persona really well? Well, you speak to your client success team. Ask them, who are our best customers? Which customers absolutely love us? Who's getting the most value out of the product? Speak to marketing. Which marketing campaigns are really resonating? Which messaging is working? Which are the leads that go through nurture really, really quickly and are banging on the door to get access to the product? Speak to your SDR teams who have similar intelligence around the market. Speak to your product and engineering teams. Just get to know across the business which is your best ICP and which is the right persona to be selling to within that ICP. Absolutely own your prospecting and pipeline. So by that, I mean, say no to poor quality leads, be rigorous on that. And if you need to, go out and do your own prospecting. Or if you have a great SDR team, certainly don't step on their toes, but buddy up with them. Get one-to-one, do pods, do brainstorming sessions with them, tell them who the right pipeline is, give them clues, give them evidence, give them leads, right? Be a team, but make sure you're the one that's controlling the targeting of your pipeline. Do your own research as well, right? Use tools out there to understand what the market's looking like, how things are changing, what buyer triggers are useful to you. Take ownership of this process. And then finally, suggest more filters on inbound leads. So if you are finding that the marketing team, the SDR team, folks who are giving you qualified leads are pressuring you to take those leads and convert them, well, I am one for saying that sales teams you shouldn't be expecting to be given a deal that's ready to close, right? There is still work to be done from a sales perspective. However, you can suggest that, hey, I'm starting to see a trend of more and more of these types of leads coming here. They're really not qualified to buy. I've taken them all the way through the sales cycle. I've learned last quarter that they're not going to close because X, Y, Z. Look, can we add this in as a filter to our qualification criteria in the marketing and the SDR side of the funnel? And that will help generate higher quality leads coming into you. In terms of tracking and measuring success, well, some of the things that you should start to see improve if you've improved your targeting are the percentage of meetings that you take that become qualified opportunities. Your meeting to close won ratio should really improve. You should actually speed up your sales cycle as well. It's not a direct correlation to win rate, but if you're targeting the right prospects, they should ultimately close faster. You ought to be able to sell larger deals to them, and your forecasting accuracy will dramatically improve because you're only speaking to the same types of companies and the same types of buyers, which means you'll really start to understand their buyer intent and the signals that tell you whether they're going to close or not. So let's move on to the second concept, which is all around qualification. Okay, slightly different to targeting, same kind of neck of the woods, but somewhat different. Assuming you've got your targeting right, then you want to make sure that you're qualifying those target leads really rigorously and really well. You only want to focus on the winners, right? Where is the Venn overlap strongest? And that Venn overlap is between the buyer's needs and your ICP's needs. Where is the pain the strongest and the implication the most difficult and painful on their organization, and your product's ability to solve those needs uniquely, differently, 10 times better than everyone else. If you get that overlap correct, that's so much more likely to win to a close won deal. If either of those are off kilter, you might be targeting the right ICP, but they don't really have that strong a need right now. They may have just gone in bed with another vendor. They may be focused on other priorities within their business. Just because they're the same ICP as a bunch of other businesses you've run with doesn't mean their needs and timing are just right, nor is your ability to solve their needs necessarily guaranteed. So you've got to still qualify even if you've got the targeting right. By doing the right level of qualification, that's going to massively improve your time management. You're only going to be focused on the deals most likely to close in your day-to-day focus, and that consistency of qualification builds pattern recognition, which builds predictability into your sales cycle, right? You're going to ask the same types of questions, same qualifying criteria time and time again to your same target audience and persona. You're going to get really, really good at understanding which prospects should be brought into your pipeline and which ones should be put in nurture and a holding pattern for now. So how do you improve your qualification of your target prospects? Well, the first is follow a consistent qualification criteria, right? Don't make these things up on the spot. Don't go with your gut. Don't go with hunches. Work with your leadership team. Work with your CRO, your VP of sales, whoever it is, to set a consistent qualification criteria, often called exit gates, right? You will not move them from this stage of the sales cycle to the next stage of the sales cycle unless they meet a certain set of consistent criteria. What I was trying to say there was verifiable, right? They've got to be objectively verifiable qualification criteria. It shouldn't be too subjective and down to your gut and feelings, right? Now, the second piece is always be qualifying. So qualification is often seen as this binary thing. You do it in the first meeting, whether it's your first demo or disco call, what have you, but actually you need to be qualifying your prospects throughout the sales cycle. Just because someone did qualify to get in from one stage to the other, things change. It doesn't mean you'll necessarily bring them all the way through to close one. And that's where actually I see a lot of mistakes, because you've got them through the first stage of qualification, so you're convinced you're going to close them. But actually, if you qualify them through every meeting, through every interaction, you'll find that there are more and more deals that you could pull out of your pipeline sooner rather than later, which again will free up your time to do even more prospecting, bring the right people in, or to focus on the right deals that are going to close. The third area is to improve the depth of your questioning and practice active listening skills. So if you're trying to qualify someone, you've got to, while going through a set qualification criteria, don't treat it as just a checklist, right? And that's where I see so many mediocre and poor reps doing, right? They have their checklist. It might be Medic, it might be Band, it might be Spin, whatever it is, and they think, okay, I'm going to ask one question around one of these criteria, and kind of whatever answer I get, I'm not going to really dig in and explore. Great reps, elite reps, dive in deeper. They ask third level questions, fifth level questions. They really try and peel back the onion and get deep into what the prospect's telling them and why they're telling them that, so that they genuinely understand. And there's nothing like feeling like you're being put through a checklist from a buying perspective to put you off, right? It feels like you are just going through the motions, right? If you want to be a great sales rep, you've got to feel like you're giving value back to the person you're speaking to in that conversation, which means active listening, right? Play back what you've heard to them. Say, oh, summarize what you heard, and then say, and can I just check, does this mean X, Y, Z, right? It's okay to make an assumption, because the amazing thing is they'll correct you if you're wrong. And if you're right, they'll think you're brilliant because you've nailed it, right? You've just relayed back to them, mirrored back to them what they've said, and they get that you understand it. So they then know that you're genuinely understanding what they're trying to convey, which builds credibility and authenticity and helps you move through the deal. So that depth of questioning and practicing active listening skills is a super important one that any rep can control and continue to get better at. A fourth area is to get external viewpoints and challenge your happy ears, right? Every rep wants to be pulling deals into their pipeline. They want a full pipeline of qualified deals to be working on. It's a metric that your manager and your manager's manager is going to be looking at. So there's a lot of pressure on you to have that qualified pipeline, which means you're going to be inclined to have happy ears. You're going to want to hear what you want to hear and bring them into the process. This is why having your calls recorded and certainly again having set criteria is such a useful exercise to then go through. Just sense check with your line manager, a colleague, whoever it is. Just say, did you hear what I hear? Feel free to challenge me on this, and just get that second opinion on things. And then finally, have an abundance mindset. So this is the concept of knowing there's always more out there, right? If you think you've got a very limited pipeline and there's very few buyers that you can speak to, then the very few you do get to speak to, you're going to want to pull through and you're going to want to put them into your pipeline, and you won't apply the level of rigor and critical thinking that you need during the qualification process to qualify out bad fit prospects. However, if you have an abundance mindset and you think, you know what, there's thousands more companies out there that I can sell to, this is just one of them, you will be much more likely to be rigorous in your qualification process, put them out of your pipeline, and go on and bring the right people in. So an abundance mindset is a great way to think about building the right people into and the right prospects into your pipeline. In terms of tracking whether you're improving on that qualification process, then you should see the number of qualified opportunities that you bring into your pipeline increase in terms of their close rate. Again, similar metrics probably across all of this, today's focus area is things like improving sales cycle speed, because you've got the right prospects in who are keen to buy. Therefore, you're going to be able to sell larger deals to them. Another metric will be you'll have the ability to work on more deals, right? Because you're only, if you're bringing in the right prospects and you're closing them more quickly, then you'll actually be able to work on more deals per quarter or per time period than having a few deals that are taking forever to close because of the wrong prospects. And again, forecasting accuracy is going to absolutely shoot up because of your objective and verifiable qualification criteria being in place. So let's move on to the third area, communication. Now, communication is massive, right? I could spend days talking about how to improve communication. So this is just a top level view of how to think about communication in terms of improving your win rates in sales. So why do we need to think about it? Well, this is where art meets science and the wheat is separated from the chaff, i.e. next level communicators are going to win exponentially more deals than mediocre communicators, right? And for all the science and all the data and analytical rigor that you can apply to your sales process, knowing how to communicate can be an intuitive and artful kind of approach that some salespeople are more born to than others. And it is the most important variable in the life cycle of a qualified deal. The good news is, whether you were born perfect communicator or someone that's got to work on it to improve, everyone can level up their communication skills. It can be consistently improved over time. So have a growth mindset when it comes to communication, okay? It's so vital to you winning deals. It is the most important variable in the life cycle of a qualified deal. And if you're not top level, you can get there over time. Yes, it's art meets science, but guess what? The world's greatest artists practiced a huge amount. If you think back to the book by Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 Hours, the greatest artists, musicians, creative minds in the world, they hone their craft, right? They may have been born with some level of innate talent, but only the best get there through copious amounts of practice, and you can too. So how do you improve? Well, the first thing is actually think about it, be intentional, test and learn. If I say this at this point in a meeting to this type of person, does it resonate? Does it not? How do I ask the right question in the right way? What if I just change from saying, why is this important to you to, could you explain how this is going to drive XYZ in the business? It feels less accusatory. Oh, wow, that slightly softer but still very clear approach has really improved the answers that I'm getting back from this, right? Just pick areas to test and learn and be intentional around, and adapt to your audience, right? So change the type of language you're using. So if you are getting to speak with the economic buyer, someone very senior in the organization, make sure you're using the language that they're going to be using. Talk about higher level strategic concepts. Don't speak tactically if you're trying to win a strategic deal. Equally, don't speak about really high level strategic concepts to someone further down the organization who simply might not be looking at that in their job. They may not have even got to a level where they understand what half of that strategic language means, and so you're going to lose them. It's going to go over your head. You might think you're sounding clever, but actually you're going to lose the audience. So you've got to adapt not just the tonality, but also the what you're actually saying, the actual content of your words and language. Now, a third thing that you can do to really improve your communication is clarify your purpose and nail your call to action in any given meeting, right? What are you trying to do in any interaction with your prospect? Are you trying to book the next meeting? Are you trying to close with a contract? Are you trying to qualify them in or out? Make sure you know what you're doing and be prepared, right? Communicate towards that purpose and make sure you actually ask for the action you're looking for, right? That's going to massively improve your communication in just that one thing alone. Now, also consider, who are you speaking to, right? What are you speaking to them about? Why? So that goes back to the purpose. Where are you speaking to them? Is it over Zoom? Is it over the phone? What's the context? Are they out walking? Are they distracted? Are they sat? Do you have undivided attention? When is it? Is it the end of the day? Is it just before they've had lunch? Are they hungry? Is it the end of the quarter? Is it the start of the quarter? Like, what's the context of when you're speaking to them? And then how, right? How are you speaking to them? Are you, what are you using to convey? Are you doing a demo? Are you doing a qualification call? What's the content of that meeting? And are they all aligned, right? So really think intentionally about your communication. Who are you speaking to? What are you trying to get from that meeting? Why are you speaking to them? Where and in what context are you speaking to them, and how? If you can really think through those areas, then you can really, really improve your communication. And one final thing is, don't negotiate with yourself, right? In your communication, make sure you actually ask for what you want and need out of those conversations. Don't say, oh, it's a big ask, or they're never going to go for this. They probably won't say yes. If you need to ask your champion for an introduction to the economic buyer, don't talk yourself out of it. Think about why it's going to be beneficial to them. Always think what's in it for them. Communicate that benefit, and then have the ask, right? But don't negotiate with yourself. That's going to also massively improve your communication. In terms of tracking success, again, similar metrics to those previous areas. So you should see your close win rate improve, your opt to close rate, and the sales cycle speed will continue to improve. Your deal value will increase, your ACV will increase, deal volume, the number of deals you can work on will continue to increase. And again, your forecasting accuracy will increase as well. Another thing that I haven't added in here, but you should get ghosted less, right? That's another metric you can look at. How many deals end up with you being ghosted, i.e. your client stops responding to you? With great communication, that should stop happening anywhere near on the frequency that it might be at the moment. Okay, Now, let's dive into the fourth area, which is resource management. So resource management for any sales rep is absolutely vital to being a top player in the team. Sales is a team sport. It sounds like a cliche, but it is so true, right? Being able to coordinate others effectively is an essential skill. Now, being able to coordinate your prospects team is a next level skill, particularly if you want to start closing larger mid-market and enterprise deals where they're complex and there's many stakeholders. But even coordinating your internal resources is something many salespeople don't ever really grasp and manage, and they wonder why so and so's in the president's club and in the top 10%. And I bet you one of the things they're doing better than someone who's middle of the ranks, bottom of the ranks, is they're really good at resource management internally, right? They know how to get finance sign off on whatever deals they're working on, right? They understand the legal review process and how to get the legal team on side. They're great at AM handovers. They bring AMs and CS teams in at the right time. They galvanize SDR support to work with them collaborative. They're best mates with marketing, right? They have great alignment with marketing. They're learning from them. They're teaching them. They're making sure that they understand what's going on across the marketing team. They bring in sales engineering or solution architects at the right time. They even work with products and engineering to bring them into deals if needed, as well as getting senior leadership support and overhead if needed in those larger deals. All of these can play a role in landing new business. So it's a really important concept for you to be able to master. Now, how do you improve this? Well, firstly, you need to know your stakeholders and their motivations, right? So if you're a sales rep listening to this, you need to understand the lay of the land within your organization. If you're a new sales rep, make sure one of the first things in your onboarding is to understand who plays a role in winning deals on your side of the fence, right? Second concept is building rapport and credibility. So firstly, build rapport, right? Be a good person, speak to them, offer to help them out. If they need you to do something, how often do you get asked from other teams in the business and they get ignored because it's not your immediate focus? They remember that, right? If they're asking you to fill out an internal survey or give them some feedback on something, take that 5 minutes to just give them and they'll remember you. It builds rapport, right? And reciprocity helps build rapport. Credibility, well, this comes from closing those deals, right? If you've got the right targeting and good qualification criteria, going back to the first two concepts, you're much more likely to be working on winning deals, and people won't feel like they're wasting their precious time and resources by helping you chase down a dead end, right? If you've got credibility, shout about it, bring people in. They're going to feel like they're working with winners, and it's worth their while. This is the next concept: account for their capacity. Can be done by a rep, but also consider this as the leadership piece as well, which is understand how many of these resources are needed to help your reps win deals, and then build in some capacity into their day-to-day to help with that, right? If your general counsel, your legal team, your finance team, whatever, if they are 110% busy all the time on non-sales related efforts, but you need 10, 5, 20% of their time to help push those bigger deals over the line, there's going to be a constant conflict within the organization around where they're focusing their time and resource. So make it a part of their work to help support those sales efforts and to give them the capacity to do that. And then as an individual rep, make sure that you're speaking to them about where their focus is. Do they have capacity? Again, give them visibility into the deal when you might need them. Don't say, oh God, I need this yesterday. Give them 5 minutes to come back to you on it. That's where those relationships start to sour and get a bit more fractious. A great way to do this is to operationalize bringing other stakeholders into deals through things like deal rooms, having SLAs between all the different teams, and clear rules of engagement about when someone in legal might get involved in a deal, when someone in finance might, when a CS or AM might get involved, etc. Make it clear, so that way it's not an ad hoc request piece. There's actually an operational rhythm around it within the business. And finally, you can't manage what you can't measure. So keep note of who's helped win what deals and how much time they had to spend on it. That's going to help you do any forward planning and forecasting for additional resource as your go-to-market team grows. You might find that other ancillary resources around the sales function also need additional capacity, but you won't know that, you won't be able to prove that forecast it unless you've been measuring their involvement in deals up to this point. So in terms of tracking success, again, opt to close rate should start to increase. Your sales cycle speed should definitely come down because you're bringing the right stakeholders in at the right time. And your cost of acquisition should actually be reduced because you're being more efficient in the way you're handling your resources, only assigning them to the right deals who are likely to close rather than getting to chase all sorts of different deals, which ultimately leads to no payback. Now, final concept. Learning, right? Why is learning so important to improving your close win rate? Well, the first thing is it avoids the definition of insanity, which is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. If the different result you want is improved close rates, then you need to do something differently. How do you do something differently? Well, you need to have a growth mindset and curiosity, which beats experience, right? If you're a rep that loves learning, if you have a growth mindset, if you believe you can continue to get better, you're curious about how, you're open to feedback, and it's much more likely you're going to try new things, you're going to innovate, you're going to not be too afraid to fail once in a while, right? And that's going to be what takes you from a good rep to an exceptional rep, right? And keeps you there. To get there, it does require discipline and documentation, right? One of the main differences between innovation and chaos is with innovation, you try new things, but you do it with intent and coordination. Chaos is just trying new things ad hoc, not recording the results. That's just doing stuff, right? Throwing shit at the wall. It's not the right way to approach things. So you need to document, what are you working on? Why are you working on it? What do you expect the outcome to be? And did that outcome happen, right? It doesn't have to be super bureaucratic, just very simple, but do it and do it consistently and do it well. And once you've done this, that leads you on a path to best practices. Often it will help you find innovative breakthroughs that no one else is trying, which then become best practices, both for yourself and the wider team, maybe even the whole organization. So how do you improve your capacity and ability to learn? Well, the first is understand the inputs that drive outputs and then measure their impact over time as you try to improve them, right? As you do things day in, day out, week in, week out, has it had a measurable material effect on those inputs? And has that then led to the outputs and the outcomes that you would expect, right? So inputs are things that are completely controllable by you. So that might be things like, am I targeting the right prospect, right? Am I adding the right people into the pipeline? Have I got the right qualification criteria? Even down to super tactical things like, are my opening questions the right ones? Are my email subject lines compelling enough? And is my LinkedIn prospecting going well or not? Those are the inputs that you can change over time. You do need to get good at providing consistent team retros and closed won loss analysis. I don't see anywhere near this in many teams, to learn what works and what doesn't as a team and grow together. And then finally, you need to provide clear areas of focus and accountability, either to yourself if you're a rep or to your team if you're a leader here, right? Give one area of improvement that someone can focus on, and then do hold them accountable. Have they tried it? If not, why not? If they have, brilliant. What have they learned, right? This is how you consistently get better through the concept of something like marginal gains, which is focusing on one incremental improvement and figuring out what works and what doesn't, and those compound over time. In terms of tracking success, again, pretty similar to all the other previous metrics. So attainment rates, this is a slightly different one. So you should see more consistent across attainment rates for yourself or across your team. You should, of course, improve your opt to close rates. Your sales cycle speed should increase. Your CAC should reduce because you're getting more efficient at how you win. And again, your forecasting accuracy should continue to improve. So there you have it. There are 5 critical concepts that you need to understand and work on to really improve your win rate, whether it's you as an individual rep or you as a leader across your whole sales team. If you can master those 5 concepts, you will start to improve your win rate. And that will have all these incredible benefits, particularly across your growth efficiency. Thanks for watching. Would love you to join the newsletter, Go to Market Works newsletter, where I share tips, tricks, and best practices from around the industry every week. And please do connect with me on LinkedIn. Hope you found this useful. And if you're signed up to the newsletter, you'll be the first to hear about the next installment that I'm working on in this 25 to Thrive series. Thanks.